What's up, Pokemon fans? Blaiktrout here, and I'm here to give you your PCBL 8 Week 2 battle analysis between the Mistralton Swannas and the Cavern Froakies. We're going to be having our good old battle against our old buddy in Aussie Pal 1, and we are still using the 6 compliments reason for Season 2. No, Season 8. I always like switching themes around. Usually I do nicknames every odd season, every even season. I always do some kind of weird theme. Or that's what I'm doing from now on. But this season's already kind of interesting with a weird team, and we got our first win up against Oak, surprisingly. But hey, I'm not going to go past this. We did a pretty decent job there. So we're going to have an even tougher matchup against one. His team consists of Mega Pinsir, Magearna, Rotom Wash, Victini, Necrozma, Goodra, Gligar, Decidueye, Hitmonchan, Audino, Sneasel, and Alolan Dugtrio. So just by the looks of his team, he has a lot of bulky threats and hard hitters offensively. Magearna, Victini, and Necrozma are his hard hitters. And he also has Goodra too. He has 110 base special attack and really good special defense. Really bulky stuff he's got. He's got a nice defensive Gligar option to cover electric type and ground type threats. The Decidueye hits pretty hard and isn't too fast. He also even has Trick Room if possible on Magearna to mess some stuff up. And Victini hits really hard with that 180 power V-Create if he's going physical. He can be physical or special and maybe mixed. He can be Banded, he can be Specs, he can be Z-Move, and that's dangerous. Victini's a hell of a offensive wild card. I'm not really fitting to deal with that. Necrozma can be the same exact thing too, and it can be a mix of offense and defense, or it could be physical special defense or physical special offense. It's not really the safest thing to deal with. And that's pretty much all my fears. And pretty much his team base was set up. We'll talk about that later when we get to like the battle matchup, when we get to the battle video. But I want to start by talking about each mon and why I have them going, and that's kind of that and nickname. So we got second best Aussie, our Haxorus here, and it's got Choice Band with the ability Mold Breaker because that also beats out Rotom Wash with just the Earthquake, and I gave it Earthquake, Aqua Tail, Outrage, and Night Slash. Earthquake is because it basically can one-shot or hit super hard on Victini, hit super hard on Magearna, hit super hard on Rotom Wash, regardless of it having Levitate. And Aqua Tail is meant to hit Gligar because I couldn't really think of anything else to hit it with to do serious damage, and that's a 2-hit shot with a Banded shot. Outrage I kept. I don't know why I still kept it. I thought I changed it to Dragon Claw, but I just needed something that hit really hard and probably sweep near the end. So this thing's meant to be more of an end game sweeping type of style. I actually had 2 options to do that with 2 mons that are physically offensive, but we'll get to that one later. But the reason why I did second best Aussie this way was because, well, I just need something to hit hard. Night Slash also pretty much hits Victini and Necrozma for super effective damage, and it also hits Decidueye. Pretty much it's like, yeah, a dark type move kind of hits. Dark types took over. I could have brought Zoroark to this. He had a lot of dark weakness actually, but Magearna was really his only option to block dark and maybe Hitmonchan. And I think he probably prepped himself around to hopefully make himself not susceptible to Zoroark. But, you know, things happened. And, I don't know. Maybe most likely that's kind of what I was thinking of. I was kind of gunning for that with Haxorus to be just that I need something to hit really hard and something that has a little bit of speed. And the way I kind of set up its stats was, of course, to give it that 252 boost. It gets 432, and then if you give it the Choice Band, it then gets another 216 base attack, so that gives it like 648. That's very hard band hitting style. Not a lot of stuff can just take one hit, so it's gonna be at least a 2-hitter for everything that I have. Even Gligar can get 2-shotted by Outrage and 2-shotted by Aqua Tail, regardless of his defenses. I also tested this against defensive Rotom Wash, and it one-shots it with a 50% chance. So, not 50% chance, I think 40% chance. No, 56.3% chance to Oko. And that was like, oh, that's great. And Earthquake's just great. And Outrage can one-shot. Earthquake can also one-shot a no defensive invested Magearna. But depending on what Magearna is, you could make it where it just takes a slight amount of damage, or it can be a defensive option, and it can still hit pretty hard to knock me out. I've also kind of tested this against Victini, and I can 1v1 it. If it's not banded, even if it's banded, like a banded V-Create doesn't kill me, and V-Create at worst, if it's like a Scarf set, is only about 53% max. And if it's Z-Move, then we're probably okay, because we kind of block both his stab and possible Volt Strike. And I kind of set it up to where I have 293 speed, and that makes me at least faster than most of the threats. I'm not looking to outspeed Sneasel or Mega Pinsir. I actually have a chance to die to Mega Pinsir, but still hit it pretty hard to knock it out with Outrage. So that's pretty much all I really have for Haxorus. So let's move on to Funny, the Jolteon. I gave it Expert Belts and made it have 136 speed. So I realized that this thing outspeeds its entire team. So I made it to where I could speed creep and outspeed Sneasel without having to really worry about it and give it some HP for some bulk. So I can take Earthquake a little bit better from Gligar. I have Hidden Power Ice for Gligar. I have Thunderbolt and Volt Switch. So I can move around. Honestly, that can just be good to be a nice pressure on... God, what was its name? Mega Pinsir again, and mostly that was my plan, just to have it be like, oh, it's fast enough to outspeed Mega Pinsir, it's able to do a little bit of damage every now and then, at least chipping a lot of the mons, so I can start knocking stuff out. And the main plan with this was just, I really needed it. It was essential for me to at least outspeed and not be afraid, but I still had 3 other mons I could outspeed and probably do its job. But I was just really nervous that I just think, yeah, we need this thing, and it can still hit a lot of threats, and even if it doesn't, it can still kind of have coverage moves against Decidueye, and it can still kind of hit Necrozma or Victini for a bit of damage, almost about half with their attack if they have no boosts. So just in case. Really, there's nothing else to it. I really just wanted to speed creep, so I wasn't really... If I was going to get outsped by anything, the one thing I would be kind of scared of would be a Scarfed Sneasel, but that's not that scary. Anything he had Scarf probably would have been Scarfed, God, what was that thing's name? Scarfed, Gugudra. But there's no way in heck it's going to be Scarfed Gudra. It's going to probably be some kind of defensive option. That's what I kind of thought the first time. That it has to be defensive Gudra and not really Scarfed. There's not really mention that he would think to Scarf except Victini. So, let's move on to Pokemon number 3. And here we go. We have Pokemon number 3, Handsome the Durant. I was very iffy on this Pokemon because with Durant I've had a lot of love and hate with this. I've missed some pretty crazy good attacks with it, and I gave it Hustle because it just gives it like a bit of a band automatically without having to really worry about it. And I also had Hone Claws just in case I was dealing with anything. And the reason why I did what I did with it was because I knew that if I can get 1 Hone Claws off, I can have a potential of at least maybe killing everything in sight. Now, Victini was like, whatever. I could have done Crunch over X-Scissor, but I'm like, X-Scissor Stab, and it does way more damage to Necrozma than doing Crunch. And instead of me doing Darkian Z, I did Steelium Z, because actually, on a no defense investment Magearna, I actually have a pretty decent shot at one-shotting it. If I face it up 1v1, or if I face Mega... You know, that thing, what was it called? Mega Pinsir. I don't know why I keep blanking on Mega Pinsir. So if I face it head on with that one, I can outspeed it enough so I can live the quick attack and just go straight for Steelium Z out the gates. Rotom Wash is also kind of scary though, but I think if I'm +1, I'm going to at least 2-shot it before I get burned. And that's really what the goal is with that. Pretty much if I'm +2, I sweep. And there's really nothing to worry about at that point. Iron Head would pretty much be hitting hard enough for me to get the flinches, but anything is possible in that case. But I'm just kind of glad where that goes with this Pokemon. It's really a gamble because it doesn't have that much bulk, and the only chance I could ever use something like a Hone Claw set is if I have some kind of defensive coverage that can help. It only has 1 weakness, so it's not really hard to cover for it, but it has only 48 special defense, so I'm going to get a really good special defensive Mon. Is not going to be a great time. And really, like, a Scarf set would only make sense if I'm going to get something that can't take hits and they're frail, and a Scarf Hustle X-Scissor is like having a Scarf and a Band the same way, although they're all 100 100 base accuracy, so it's all going to be 80% chances. So the chance of me missing the first time is low, but it's a gamble. It's always a gamble when I don't have Home Claw set up. So, I mean, that's really all I was thinking about, because it really does work against a lot of the team, except for maybe Liger and Victini. And really, I shouldn't be even close to 1v1ing against Dugtrio, unless I have Superpower, or 1v1ing against Rotom Wash, unless I'm +2. Or +1 to even start with. So that's pretty much it. So let's move on to the next Pokemon again. And I had to pick my defensive core. And this was hard because I was really kind of thinking the defensive core is going to make the least sense out of the offensive core. Because the offensive core has a huge issue with fire, And pretty much fire, ground, and ice is a bit of its issues, and fairy and steel. Well, steel, shouldn't have a problem. We have 2 mons that block steel. But still, at this point, we really do have a good shot of trying to win here. So I thought of doing Vaporeon as my cleric because it just can take hits, and I made it the full defense option because we can take hits and have a lot of HP. And also, Scald really just works. It burns a lot of things. It can burn possible physical threats. Rocky Helmet, so physical threats such as Mega Pinsir or Victini or, God forbid, Necrozma can pretty much get a little bit of chip damage. We can try to burn them with the Scald as well, meaning you'll get the double chip, protect, and heal bell. So I just get the full usage. It's not like the last game where I made that fatal mistake of not using what I wanted to use. And, like, when we got hit with those toxic spikes week 1, that was horrible. I was scared because I'm like, I have no healing factor, so I'm basically screwed here. But, it all kind of worked out that time. This time I want to be nice and prepared. And the 5th option is actually kind of weird because it's the only way for me to make it work, and I really had to think hard on the 5th option because I wanted to use a screen setter. And the problem was with Vaporeon, I thought about making it the screen setter, but it only has Reflect. And, Jolteon only has whatever. But I wanted something that could either heal itself and take the 2 screens with an attack. So the 5th option was kind of really weird. The 5th option itself is Clefable, top 10 coach, and Light Clay with Magic Guard, so I can get rid of the deal with rocks or getting burned or getting poisoned, and I can just survive whatever he throws with it, hacking wise, or not hacking, what do you call it? Chip down wise, so chip down wouldn't really affect me too much. Light Screen and Reflect, we have it last for 8 turns, so we can take all the hits against a lot of the physical threats, because he's not only got bulk, he's got a lot of power on top of that, and I really wanted something to curtail that. So Pokemon like the second best Aussie and Handsome, those 2 can just take the hits and do what they need to do, and Handsome could set up off that and use Home Claws, and then once I get 1 or 2 set up, he'll either be thinking to switch or just to set up, and then we can just beat him there with our speed. And I gave it counter in case I face against Mega Pinsir or any of the other physical threats that he could possibly have on his team, and then we could just throw it back at him. And this is a risk. This was a risky play because I don't have an attack, so if I'm going to get something that I think he would think I would attack for and he would think he'd take the hit, I'd be in trouble. And I have soft boiled because I thought of doing Serena, but my issue with Serena was that not only that Serena kind of blocks and makes my deal with Rotom Wash easier or Magearna easier, I'd have a worse time against Victini and Mega Pinsir because then I would have pretty much 2 weaknesses or 2 fire weaknesses that aren't easy to cover, and that would just be a really big issue on my part. It would not be a fun time, and really I thought of doing a max defense set, but I thought, let me make it a mix of defense and special defense. I'm more worried about being hit by physical defense than special, because Victini may be scary, but as long as I got the last one, I should be kind of okay. I wasn't really thinking too hard on that, like its only weaknesses. It only had 2 compared to Serena's 5, and I mean, Serena just isn't going to be really utilized if I have something else. Like, it kind of just, Serena kind of does dual screens as well, and I thought about using it, but I'm like, it doesn't hit anything else for serious damage. It might give Rotom Wash some trouble, maybe Gligar to an extent, but no, counter Clefable just made the most sense for some dumb reason, and that'd be nice. It's a nice way to keep this thing clutch. I don't think I'm going to be using Clefable forever, but I already have like almost 2 times of Clerics here, or at least 3 if I include Serena, because it also has Aromatherapy. So that's kind of how Pokemon number 5 went. And my last option, Heatran here, those Mons, what made it weird was that I made a defensive set. I don't usually do that. I usually make some kind of mixed set with good special defense, but I did special defensive so I can basically versus Magearna. I really thought maybe I don't need it, but I need something to block up Victini. I need something to block up Magearna if he brings them. I thought in my head, if he brings anything of the special variety, I can take hits and then just Toxic Stall them all to death. And Toxic would be very useful, especially against Rotom Wash, especially against Goodra. I can just set that up, and then I don't really care if this thing dies. Once most of his team is pretty much poisoned up, we can probably just stall the top 10 coach and win our way out that way. I'm fine with doing stall in this league. It sucks, but that was pretty much the plan. Sort of. At least enough to keep everybody chipped down so I can just take over near the end and just sweep with Haxorus or Durant. So I gave it Stealth Rock just for the same reason. Chip, Toxic for Chip, the Lava Plume for Magearna alone, and Earth Power in case I face up against Victini 1v1. And I know it's probably going to have like Focus Blast or Final Gambit. That way, I know Final Gambit I'll die, but Focus Blast I should live at least one to hit off with Earth Power or set up with what I want to set up. So really that was all there was to it, actually. So I think now we're going to probably get on to the battle. I mean, honestly, Heatran is like, I feel like he's going to just prep around Heatran enough, because he's got a lot of stuff that just blocks Heatran. And he's going to probably definitely have some Heatran coverage. So that's kind of what the battle was. I already kind of had an idea about what he was going to bring, and I'm going to kind of compare what I thought to what he had in the video battle portion of it. So hopefully you'll like how it goes. So I'm going to be kind of critical on it. So let's move on to the next step and go to the battle video. Okay, so really here's the teams. We have our team right here. He's got his team right over there. So his team is actually mostly 5 out of 6 I expected for him to bring. I mean, his team option, or what I was assuming would be the worst case scenario, he'd bring Magearna, Rotom Wash, Necrozma or Victini, Goodra, Gligar or Dugtrio, and Mega Pinsir. I thought Mega Pinsir or Sneasel, but I thought, no, he'll bring Mega Pinsir. He needs the power and the speed to do something. So it's kind of what I was gunning for. And that was at least 5 out of 6 right. So, yeah, he brought Necrozma, but he brought Necrozma and Victini, so that completely throws me off. Like, oh, he brought both. I think in the rightest light, we probably could have Zora kind of just run through this team. He could do that. He could run through the team with a spec set. Problem though is I don't know if Victini's scarfed or not, and if it is scarfed, then goodbye. And at the time I didn't. Not only that, Victini could be a whole wild card. It could be scarf. It could be specs. It could be some kind of mix set. It could be banded. It could be a whole bunch of things. It's a wild card. Same with Magearna. It could be shift gear, assault vest, offense or defense. Same with the Necrozma. Offense, defense, boost, no boost, specs, rocks, whatever it is. And Alolan Dugtrio was probably only picked because of the speed, and it already has a decent typing, and it only loses the stuff that's already kind of coverable. So he's not really too worried about that. At least it sets up rocks and may have Memento. Mega Pinsir's just there. And it's probably going to be the same set like it always is. Just Mega Pinsir's always kind of scary because it can sweep on you if you are not careful. So that's kind of what I was trying to avoid. Is like, let's not get swept here. Honestly, he kind of runs through my whole team with an Earthquake for coverage. So if he has Swords Dance also, that's also trouble and not something I want to deal with. You know, that Rotom Wash is probably going to be that same defensive set that might have some kind of coverage for grass or for grounds. Maybe not hit power ice, but you know, it's like it's got all of its moves, and maybe Will-O-Wisp to cut down the physical attackers because he knows how dangerous Haxorus could be, and probably have Toxic or have Pain Split or Defog. Pretty much anything. So enough speculation. Let's get on to the battle and explain our points and parts. Yep, let's explain that. So, you know, he goes Dugtrio, Alola. I go for Vaporeon because I'm thinking either way, whatever he sends in, it works in our favor for us to just go into Vaporeon. I thought, how about Jolteon? But if he didn't have a ground type, I'd probably just go in straight to Jolteon. But Vaporeon, I know, can take the hits, so we're going to just go straight for the Scald. He goes for rocks in order to get that fresh chip damage and hazard damage. I go for the Scald, trying to get the burn, but I don't get it, but we get whatever. I thought we could kill him off, and I'm like, let's go for Wish, because I know we're going to live whatever he has. And the Memento really threw me off. We knew that now he could probably get the fresh setup going his way, and he could probably knock me out. He goes right into Pinsir, and Mega Evolves right here, going for the return. We lived that, and I knew we were going to live at least one, so I thought, let me get a Scald off, because at this point, I'm fine with Vaporeon kind of dying. I don't know why I'm being like that. It's like I could just set up Wish, but instead I could just go for Scald instead and hope for the burn. So I was literally looking to burn here. And lo and behold, we got the burn. So boom, we just fixed ourselves. I thought, hey, let's go for Wish. He switches straight out into Rotom Wash. I thought we could stay in, but hey, let's go into Clefable as he goes in for Hydro Pump, thinking that he's going to go into Jolteon. And he got the crit, and we survived that. And I'm like, all right, let me set up my screens, because he really can't do anything to me, and for some reason he goes and sets up Swords Dance so we can at least do normal damage. We got the Reflect up, and we're Light Clay, so we know we're going to have that last for 7 or 8 turns. We live the return, we go for counter, boom, And cool, Clefable got a kill. So he goes into Magearna, goes straight into Heat Train to live whatever he's going to throw. Probably hidden power ground, he knew that. And by looking at it, I'm like, oh cool, I'm very glad the screens were up. If we didn't have that, we'd be getting blown back. Ain't that something? I love the fact I can have the option to have screens. I love having that versatility, especially for defense, where I have that, and I just love how it's working out. So we're up 6-4, and you know, oops, we go for Rotom Wash out the gates, and he got Lava Plume. I thought, all right, my plan here was pretty much to think, I know I can take a Hydro Pump from him. It's gonna only probably do, I don't know, 30% or so. So the idea is pretty much just for me to be like, okay, let's just go for Toxic. If he stays and goes for Hydro Pump, we're going to live it. We're going to Toxic him, and then he's going to be down with a chip damage. Or he goes into pretty much anything else, and it really just works in our favor. He goes into Magearna, it doesn't matter. Anything he's going into is going to get hit with that status. So let's resume. He goes straight up into Volt Switch, and he goes out into Victini. I go for the good old-fashioned Toxic, and now I'm like, let me just go and set up rocks right now, or instead of going for Earth Power, he goes for the Z Fighting. I'm like, really, all out pummeling? Z Focus Blast. We lived that, of course, thanks to the screens. If we did not have this, we'd be getting blown back all game. Like I said, I'm very glad I did what I did. We lived our hits, and now I could be like, oh cool, now we can probably either set up screens again, and he goes for the blue flare like I feared, and I'm glad we got to put up the light screen at the last second. So now I'm like, alright, let me go for Soft Boiled. I'm fine with dying here because at least we got our screens up for another 8 turns and might decide the game here. He goes for Blue Flare, and that toxic damage again adds up, and it works in our favor again. Thank the Lord. He goes right into Magearna, and I'm like, alright, this is going great. Now let's go straight into Jolteon because I don't know what he's going to do. He goes for Shift Gear, and I swear, everything I was afraid of happened. I'm like, if this thing's Shift Gear, we are in a bit of trouble here because I have nothing to outspeed a Shift Gear Magearna. And lo and behold, it's freaking Shift Gear. I'm like, oh Lord, this is not good. And for the life of me, I was thinking in my head, he might just sweep us. So I'm very scared of Magearna now because it has a chance to hit really hard. I mean, I know it has hidden power ground, but I don't know if it has floor cannon or not. Right now, I'm kind of stuck at his will, but I have up the screens. I should be living everything he could possibly throw at me. I still have 87% Clefable to take at least one hit. I don't know if his last move or whatever his other moves are. So I know 2 out of his 4, and I'm scared what the last one is. And he goes for Dazzling Gleam. Thank God. We go for Volt Switch and go straight into Durant. And I thought I made an oopsie because I'm like, oh no. Now, what if he's Focus Blast? What if he has Focus Blast Magearna? Because I'm over here thinking, if I just go straight for Steelium Z, that's what I thought in my head, we can kill it. But what if he goes into Rotom Wash? We're screwed if he does that. And, you know, I thought he would probably stay in and try to think of going for, like, Volt Switch or something else. Or whatever. Whatever his last move is, it could just be Steel just to take care of Clefable. So, by some crazy amount of luck, he switches out, so he doesn't have Volt Switch, and he goes into Necrozma. I look at him like, oh, God. And go for this Corkscrew Crash, and we did 73%. So we go for X Scissor. I was scared here because I was thinking, oh god, if it misses, that's fine. We can just go straight into... At that point, when he brought in Necrozma, I thought, I got this game won now. This game is mostly won. Because now I can go into the good old-fashioned Aussie right here. And just go into Earthquake. I can just Earthquake him to death at that point, and the game is mine. So pretty much at this point, I was fine with Handsome dying. But Durant didn't miss, thank goodness, and that worked. He went to Rotom Wash, and then unfortunate thing happens here. We go for the X Scissor and get the crit. I was fine with dying at this point, and I'm like, oh god, this is crazy. So I'm scared here that if he actually sets up whatever and I miss the Iron Head, he could pretty much sweep me in the end, and it's pretty much over. Now, I didn't know if he won or not. I was basically thinking in my head, this game is nowhere near over yet. Anything can happen, anything can go wrong, and I thought, okay, if I miss and he kills me with like a regular attack, then we can just go into Aussie and end the game. If not, we just go into Clefable and try to set up screens again to live at least one hit, and we should be fine. So let's resume. He goes for the Iron Head. We live that. Goodbye, Magearna, and we win the battle. And I'm really feeling bad about the crits, but Durant got 3 kills in this game and is our MVP for the game. So congrats, Durant. You actually put in some work, and we got a freaking 6-0. So we've had a 6-0 at least once per season. like we had one against Metro last season in playoffs, and I think season 6 was somebody. I can't remember. I don't think we had one for season 6. We got 6-0 twice in season 6. I know that. Forfeit. Season 5 we had somebody in season 5. Oh right, Joseph. He got blown out. So that's pretty much the end of this battle. I kind of got it set up to around 20-something minutes, so 20 to 25 minutes is kind of the golden time frame, and I'm kind of glad that's what it's looking like. So this was a fast battle that ended up really good in our favor. Now we're 2-0 plus 10, so shoot, that means if anybody else doesn't reach the 6-0 like we did, then we're going to be number 1 for another week. That's great. So now next week we got to go against Zach. He has a pretty scary team. I can't wait to get in his butt. I'm really ready for that. Pause. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more. Hopefully the weekly analysis for week 2 comes in, but I really don't know. At the time I'm recording this is the first battle that got finished. So yeah. So I'll see you guys next time. So bye. I suck at goodbyes. I will make sure my outros sound better than this.